It's Anime Binge Club. It's anime school time. What was the other one? Anime cram school. It's not a good thing if you're struggling to think of it. It's anime film school. We got to figure it out. Okay, here's the thing, Kevin. We have a song to play, but I wanted to figure out an opening thing. You know, it's interesting. It's so interesting to be inside of a podcast and on the podcast talking about how you think you might want to do another podcast, and then to start doing that other podcast, and then be inside of that podcast talking about how you want to do both podcasts, etc. But
Podception.
That's where we find ourselves. It is, yeah, exactly. It's like that was an episode title of Harmontown, probably, right? Podception. It's got to be.
If it
right?
wasn't, it should have been. That'll be our episode title, regardless, this week.
And if it wasn't Harmontown, definitely another podcast has had that title. Absolutely, that can't have been left on the table. But here's the thing: the big part of what the podcast would be is me talking about weird anime stuff and being like, "Here's an anime thing. It's a thing that happens in anime. I don't know. Anime has different tropes, but one thing that anime does is it has the thing called chibi or super deformed, which is generally speaking, it's like a cutesy small version of a character. And I think for the podcast, we need cutesy small versions of, you too, but specifically me, like a cutesy.
I thought you were going to say I was going to be the cutesy small version of you.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. I mean, if you want, but generally speaking, it would be both of us have a version of ourselves, where it's like, okay, oh, there's Kevin, and then there's mini Kevin or chibi Kevin or whatever, and the same thing for Spencer. But, especially if it's like a school-based format, then it's like, oh, the lead guy is like, oh, it's like this annoying. Do you remember those not Disneyland, those Disney movies, the sing-along tapes? And there's that school owl, it's like, oh, it's the school owl character, it's like, I think it's like for the anime podcast, it's like, oh, it's the school anime character, oh, he's the school guy, the mascot, does that make sense?
It does. So I almost see you're kind of half pitching That Happens Babies, like Muppet Babies.
Yeah, basically. Well, that's the thing, is that's what the trope is Muppet Babies is like very much the classic, kind of trope of what a chibi kind of thing is. There's, Gundam, right? And then there's Gundam SD, which is super deformed, but in this case it's super defenders or something. It's like a pun, but it's just Gundam, but they're all small, and that's the whole thing. It's like, whoa, Gundams can be small? Whoa, what would that be like? It would be a whole world. Holy shit, let's make a show about it or whatever, or toys. Let's make toys about it. But okay, but the main thing is we need to workshop a voice for the character, because we can come up with the design can change, update, whatever. And so can the voice, I guess, but we need to come up with a voice, right? So, but I'm not good. People say oh, Spencer, you should be a voice actor, and they're wrong, because I don't know how to use my voice. It just all falls out like I'm throwing something over a wall, and then it's just I have so many words that they just have to spill out, and it's like, oh, when are more words coming into my brain? Anyway, so how to actually use my voice like an instrument is, I don't know how to do that, which is why I'm struggling.
You've never considered being a voice actor? Because I really think that's one of your skills.
I've thought about it, but I just don't know. My voice is very natural. I don't know how to affect it. I mean, maybe if I went to classes or something, I would learn, but I don't. I don't know how to affect it.
Yardley Smith, I love her, but she's got one voice, and she kills it as Lisa Simpson, and you've got more range than that.
Yeah, but she has good inflection stuff and emotion. That's the thing, is that's what I don't have. I can't, what you learn in film, whatever, the voiceover school or whatever, voiceover training is how to affect your voice. And that's, I don't it just affects itself. And impressions are like that too. And I can't do that. So it's we got to come up with a voice that I can feel comfortable doing, so it's but it's like a cute little character. So it's like, hey guys, that sucks. All of this is gonna suck. There's none of this is gonna be good. And that sounds like Rick and Morty. Like, hey fellas, it's me, Spencer Son, guys. Oh no, we're gonna learn about anime and not. Oh boy, that's not good. What I really don't know. I mean, I told Kevin how to set up the show, and it's based around us actually landing on something to do here. Actually, so we might be fucked if I can't figure out a voice, huh?
The show might not actually start.
Yeah. Well, we've tried one voice. Man, doing this live on the internet, maybe not a great idea to think to it's just an embarrassing thing to try and workshop voices. Hey, that's the same voice. Hey. What was the gnome voice? I'm Spizwad. Oh boy. That kind of works, right? I'm the little Spencer man. Does that sound like Rick and Morty?
That does kind of sound. I was going to say that's a little.
Oh
Mr.
no,
Butthole a little bit, or Lemon Grabber, but
God damn it! Oh no, I'm not Mr. Poopy Butthole. I'm a different guy. Oh, shit, that one. The thing is, I feel like I can do that one. Oh, come on there. Oh, I'm the dispenser. I'm American. Because that's another thing they do. That's another anime trope is like a really intense Western kind of like American. Americans are always like super Texan, and they're like, howdy, partner. I'm from New York City or whatever,
I enjoy guns and barbecues and my cattle. Yeah, like I've noticed that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to the Wild West. I'm going to the Wild West. That's like a prospector voice, I guess, huh? That's not really a cutesy. Okay. I think we just have to roll with it. Okay, so get the view. We're gonna test. Oh, the character is also Spencer Son, by the way. I think the anime character is Spencer Son. I had a friend suggest Spenpai, which is way too smart. I think it's like that's way too clever to work for something that's shitty. But I like Spenpai. But Spencer Son, Spenchan, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But okay, hold on. I gotta move the camera. Okay. Today on Anime Film School. Wait, fuck. I'm an abomination. Someone put me out of my misery. I'm doing a video bit. Check it out. thathappenspod.com. Let's do a normal voice, huh? Today on the podcast, we're talking episodes 3 and 4 of Evangelion. Plus, Kevin lets us know what's in his fetish chest. All this and more on today's Anime Binge Club. Hit it, Kevin. Man, even with me singing it, that song just fucking rocks. Like, it's such a good song. Man.
And I've seen it enough times now, and I'm still laughing. Like, if you guys are just listening to this, you've missed out. Like, either load up the Spotify player or go to thathappenspod.com and just even if all you're going to do is watch this part of it, watch that video. It is so worth it. Spencer just killed it.
Thanks. And I posted on my various socials and stuff. I don't know if it's everywhere, but it's definitely around. I want to say it's on TikTok. Check me out on TikTok at the Six Layer. I'm doing more cooking videos. I want to do more cooking content. I'm cooking more now. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, check it out for sure. I am going to turn up my audio because I'm kind of low. But I don't know. So that song's so good. I don't know. There's something about like Japan is like, there's a reason that Japan nerds are Japan nerds. Like, Japan is really cool. I listened to Hardcore History, the podcast by, Dan Carlin, and he did a whole thing he did a lot of episodes about Japan and stuff, but he said like Japan is like everyone else, only more so, which is like a fun turn of phrase. But it's like, yeah, like what they do is like go really hard at stuff, and like it's really cool. Which I think kind of the Roman Empire was kind of like that too, maybe, but I don't know. But it's just like one of the things that's cool about anime is it's like they saw old American cartoons. Betty Boop is, I think, like one of the most cited examples. And look at Betty Boop: big head, big eyes, small mouth. Like a lot of like tropes that went on to inform anime were like Betty Boop specifically, Betty Boop era cartoons. Um, and then so they took animation. Look at Betty Boop, and then they went balls to the wall with it and made anime. And anime is like fucking insane. And then look at that song. It's just like Japanese music is amazing. Like they just like they take which is something I learned. Like Japan got a lot of bootleg Russian underground tape cassettes because the advent of the tape player made it so, despite the communist oppression and their like media embargo, they can still collect and circulate tapes so they could get American music. And then those became really cheap, and eventually, like they got there's like a Radio Lab or something. They got to Japan, and Japan had no context for any of this music because imagine if you know what we understand about music, Kevin. There's genres, right? Rock and pop and hip hop and R&B. But imagine if what you knew about music was a box of tapes appeared and it just had a bunch of songs. You wouldn't necessarily go, oh, this one is pop and this one is rap music. You would go, American music is crazy. And then you would listen to jazz and heavy metal and like Metallica or something. I don't know. I don't know time wise, but, and then you'd be like, this is music, huh? And then you'd start to make music inspired by all of these things similarly, not the way someone would be inspired by rock music, get really into rock music, and then start to get bluegrass influence or something. They're influenced at the same time by all of these things, and it creates incredible fusion music that's really unique. Anyway, it's really good. They're really good at art. I love animation in general. It's really good. Anime is really good. That's why I want to do a podcast about this stuff. Well, have you thought about anime or Japan since we've last met, Kevin?
Actually, yeah, like I haven't watched anything because I wanted to talk to you about it before I did, but I was like browsing through some of the other, anime that I know other people have recommended to me before and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've watched a couple more episodes of what we're watching. And yeah, I have to admit, I am getting way more into it than because there have been times in the past where people have been, hey, Kevin, you got to watch this. And I've gotten like 10 minutes in and just went, nah, this is just not for me. And the fact that I had a reason to sit and watch 3 episodes worth, like by the end of the first 3, I was like, wait, I don't want to stop here, So
Yeah.
it's been interesting to see how my perspective has changed so much just over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, and I think they're really dense narratively. I mean, I'm sure other stuff is dense narratively too, but I think like even the most formulaic, inane, and there's a lot of formulaic, inane animes that, like, by Western standards, like, you'd say this is the cheapest thing you'd ever imagined, and how could this, like, pass, like, network standards, How did this not get kicked back for being derivative or whatever? But even that stuff is really dense. It's just the density is derivative things. So it's like, here's the same joke last episode, and here's the same joke last episode, and here's the same joke. It's like they just do these structural things over and over. But even that's dense. It's all dense. But
also,
I don't
too,
know.
I think, I mean, I don't know if this is specific to just this series, but I also liked how they're not afraid to just let things sit a little bit. There can be a 10-second pause where literally the camera doesn't move. There's nothing moving on the screen. There maybe is some background noise. Maybe there isn't, but like they're not afraid to let there be a moment of silence for something to digest or for you to think or the character to be thinking or something like that. Like in one of the episodes that we will be getting to, when he's at the train station, there was so much of a gap where not a word was said other than like the announcer in the background announcing the trains and stuff. Nobody was talking. Nobody was saying a word, but there was still a lot being told. So it's both dense, but it's also very sparse, which I don't see American TV getting away with because they're so afraid that if you tune into it at that exact second and don't laugh within 5 seconds, you've changed the channel.
Yeah. I think that gets back to what we were talking about the last time we did one of these, which is like the idea of confidence. Like just the confidence to do something like that is like surprising, and it works. And I think that's something really interesting about Eva, especially as it's become the Stonehenge of anime, is like all of the moves it made would have seemed so big, but they never would have thought that way because they were just like, oh, we're trying to do anime. We're just trying to do it. But then all these things go on to be tropes and like just like the confidence, like what you're talking about, those still quiet shots and stuff. Some of that is these money saving shot techniques, because you're talking about silence, but in that episode, a lot of it are just these very long, minimal shot, time saving, money saving shots, and those are also very confident. But it's not even confident. It's like we could not animate these. We did not have the money to do that or whatever, so it's like it's not just confidence, also practicality, but it's like the fusion of both of those things make it such compelling art. But yeah, also we should say that we're recording during a hurricane or a tornado, right? So
yeah, I'm in the dark. I mean, my audio should be okay, but if you're looking at me going, why is Kevin sitting in the dark, it's because my power's out right now.
Yeah, and I was reading something. Technically, this episode might show up a week in the future due to being flung by the time of the tornado or something. I'm not sure how that works, but I think it's like when it's called like a gravitational catapult. You like go around the planet and use the orbit. It's like you do that.
Thing,
yeah, with the podcast, and then it goes into the future. I don't know. But anyway, so is there any, I mean, maybe we could just get into the episode, I guess, or the episodes. Where we left off last was that Shinji was reliving the battle because he fought, I don't know if that was the first angel, but it was like, yeah, it was like it's not the first angel, but it was the first angel of the series that he fights, right? Yeah. And he blacked out and didn't remember the fight, and then was remembering the fight. And the last he saw is that the angel it has a skull underneath its helmet. And it regrew an eyeball in its skull, and the eyeball looked at Shinji and he screamed and passed out, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's where we left it. I don't know if we'll get to episode 5, but where episode 5 ends, like I had to go back and rewatch it and be like, wow, it just ends there. Because man, some of these episodes just really end like, holy shit, like this is not great. Like this is tough stuff, anyway. But so we come back to episode 3. Shinji, he's doing like VR training in simulation training in the Gundam, and he's basically completely zonked out. We learn a bit of world building that the Eva has a 5-minute has a 5-minute battery. They say it's like a 1-minute battery and then a 5-minute battery, but really practically it means it's a 5-minute battery or something. I don't know, or it's a whatever. Not important. But so Shinji's like completely zoned out, right? Like what is that trope? Like someone who's hypnotized, right? Like you could wave your hand in front of his eyes and he's kind of zonked out, and he just says like center and fire, center the target and fire, something like that. Do you remember that? I don't know.
Yeah, no, he was definitely like in another place. Like he was. To me, I don't know. Like I think they were trying to like. It felt like they were trying to show that like he had just like almost like mentally ascended to this different level to just get through what he needed to get through. Maybe. Yeah,
right. So I think you're right about that. Based on the way the dialogue, and this might be the way they translated it or whatever, but that's not what I got from the dialogue. But I think that was me misunderstanding, because I think you're right. Because Ritsuko, who's like the scientist, she says he does what he's told to make his life easier. And I think it's like, yeah, essentially he's dissociating right now, which is what you're saying. But like how I took it to be is just more like, we're just kind of like dissecting a lab rat. Like, oh, look, it's gnawing its own arm off or whatever. She's like, look, his brain goes broken when we yell at him enough. It's like she just kind of seems to be dispassionately commenting on like, oh yeah, you just tell him what to do and he does it. Like, and like it's also like she's talking to Misato, and Ritsuko's saying like, yeah, no, this is what you do. I'm a scientist. You control people and tell them to do stuff. And when they're this kind of person, they just do it. It's great. It's a great kind of person you can manipulate. And like, it's interesting because she seems very conscious of like the fact that she's controlling and manipulating Shinji. She's saying, Shinji, pick up this box, Shinji, dump this milk on your head. Like, and Shinji's like, great, I'll just do what people tell me, and it's interesting because she's very open and direct about it. But everyone in Shinji's life has been controlling of him. Masato is controlling him through like either real or false compassion and friendliness, and to a lesser extent maybe sex appeal. And Gendo is controlling him through shame and abuse, right? But so all the adult characters in Shinji's life are controlling him in various ways. And Ritsuko is maybe doing it in the healthiest way. Shinji's responding maybe the healthiest to it, although it looks really fucked up. But, the way they're talking about it, they're like, oh, this is good. What's happening is good. And what we're seeing is like, this is all insane, and it's like, oh, that's just, I don't know, pretty interesting. Because it's like, Ritsuko is just, it's flavorless. And then Masato is like positivity and Gendo is negativity. I cut you off. You were going to say something?
No, yeah, to me, and maybe I'm, this is me not knowing the full story yet, but it felt almost like this was kind of, almost we're at war here, like the fate of the city or the fate of humanity or the fate of whatever is for better or for worse in the hands of these 14-year-olds. And if we have to push these buttons these ways to get these results, it's better than us all dying. And that's kind of the vibe I got, but also that maybe some of them were pushing it a little bit too far still too, throwing him way into things he was unprepared for. But that almost gave it a sense of urgency of like, we don't have time to do it the right way. We don't have time to do this. We're under attack and, you're either going to save us or we're all dying.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think this episode specifically is very much a commentary on war. So I think that being part of it is really true. And I think that's what you're supposed to come to understand. I think for me, it definitely took me a while to like lock into that as the audience. I was just like, what the fuck is he doing? But like, that's the thing is like, to me, like what's really hitting me as a viewer this watching, but despite as opposed to other ones, is like, they really aren't playing around with the fact that it's fucking Shinji up. Like this is hardcore stuff. It's just because I'm so used to anime with mechas that it's not a big deal to me that he's fighting a giant alien. But it's like, no, this is a big deal. And they're treating it so realistically and so seriously that like, yeah, that's a part of it. That's a big part of what we're dealing with. We're not talking about reloading a gun. We're not talking about developing a new bomb, We're talking about, holy shit, this is a child, which is what this episode's about. And so in the beginning, I didn't get it, but I think that's definitely what this whole episode's about. So yeah, I think you're really smart to lock in on that, especially at this moment. I think it's weird so Shinji goes to school. He says, I'm going to school, and Shinji and Ritsuko or Masato and Ritsuko are talking, I think, on the phone or something. And Ritsuko calls Shinji Masato's boyfriend. And Masato says that no one ever calls Shinji on the phone. He must not have any friends. They bring up the hedgehog's dilemma, which is, I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but it's like anime does this a lot. I don't want to go into that, but like another thing anime does a lot is, I don't know if it's translation or culture or whatever, but they say what to me amounts to something really straightforward and obvious, but they bring it up like a CSI show explaining a science concept. It's have you heard of the hedgehog's dilemma? Hedgehogs, they have these quills, and so they bump up against each other and they poke. If they get too close, they start to poke against each other. And so some people, when they get close to each other, they'll actually run away for fear of hurting them. It's like, first of all, hedgehogs don't have that dilemma. That's not a dilemma hedgehogs deal with. They're not trying to cuddle up each other and poking each other. That's like a weird thing that you imagine when you see a hedgehog and imagine it wanting to hug something. Like that's not a thing that happens. So like the idea that it's a dilemma doesn't exist. And then so you want to say some people, when they get close to another person, flee because they don't want to cause pain. Okay. I mean, I don't know that I have to call that the hedgehog's dilemma. It almost makes it worse. It kind of feels like it cheapens it to call it that. I don't know. But anime does this kind of thing a lot. I don't know if it's like a Japanese culture thing. I don't know if it's the way they're translating it to make it sound like it's less interesting than it is. I don't know. Whatever. It's interesting.
I don't know if this changes anything, but like, so I'm watching this with the English dubs, but with fan subtitles over top of it. And that whole scene was done completely differently in the subtitles, where it was like, hey, do you ever wonder why porcupines are so lonely? And
Right.
it
Well,
wasn't
that
hedgehogs, it was porcupines. And they didn't call it a dilemma. That was just like, well, if you ever look at a porcupine and see it's really sad, this is why, because it can't get close to anybody. And he's just like that. And, so like it was the same story, but told completely differently.
yeah, that definitely makes it a lot better because it's more it taps into world lore. You know how like raccoons look like they're little thieves. It's more like, well, come on, think about a raccoon. They're like a little thief. That makes it less like high minded. And more just like, oh, just trying to explain something. So yeah, no, that's a lot better for sure. That's super interesting. We got to really explore like the differences in translations and stuff if we can, because I again, as my access as a fan, part of the ways this stuff gets translated is really interesting, especially because fans translate this stuff before it comes out. They speculate on fan theories based on shit that they translated, and then official translations come out, and then those mean different things for the fan theories, and then people go, well, wait a second, the official but I think our fan translation is better for this. And so it really shapes the way people think about the series and think about what reveals might happen and what like anyway. I love it. I love anime.
That's a difference too, which goes back to what you were talking about the whole, like, it has this many minutes of backup power. The the speech, the dialogue, I think said 1 minute, but the subtitles kept referring to it as 30 seconds.
Right.
So it's almost like they weren't, sure of it then, when whoever was writing whatever then.
Yeah, the thing that it was like the way they put it that I remember, it's like you have a 5-minute timer, but I don't remember. I have to go back and maybe I'll talk. We could do a corrections. But anyway, this episode definitely has like those money saving long shots that look really cool. So anyway, we so go to Shinji's school. I don't think we see Shinji yet. We see Rei, and she's super injured. Which again, I think in the first episode, Shinji sees Rei and she's not injured, and since then he's seen Rei and she is injured. And then we see some normal kids, and this is again, like, for me, the audience who hasn't really clocked how like traumatizing this is to children, the series is supposed to be. Like, you see Ida, the two characters you see first are the class rep, whose name is like Incho, I think, or I think Incho might mean class rep, so I don't remember. But so he calls her the class rep, and Ida, who's just Ida's a normal kid. He has a camera and he's playing with his plane and filming it with his camera, which, when we talk about anime tropes, the film kid is like an anime trope. I think it's also just a movie trope. Oh, a guy who brings a camcorder places. But it's like, I think because of Eva, it's like become more of an anime trope. But he's like, he's a kid. He's going, and we're seeing that. He's taking video of it, and it's like, holy shit. Shinji is a fucking kid. Like, that's what, to me, what hit me is like, wow, these are kids. And also, wow, Shinji is like gone through some shit, but also Shinji's a fucked up kid, maybe even outside of any trauma. Like, oh, Shinji is weird. He is very non-standard as kids go. Ida's a normal kid, and then we also meet Toji, who's like, he's another one of these tropes. He's like the big, stupid, kind of athletic type. These are classic anime tropes. Ida says that there's been casualties, even though the news has been covering it up, which is, talking about state propaganda. And he wonders if Toji was hurt because he hasn't been around. And then they found out that, and then Toji shows up and he's like, I'm not hurt. My sister was hurt. And I'm mad at the pilot of the robot because he was so sloppy that my sister got hurt. Which is like, again, like, I think one of the things we saw in the last episode is Shinji takes his first step and eats shit. And it's like, oh man, the consequences are really big in this moment. And it's like, yeah, when buildings are blowing up, people are potentially dying. And the sister is one of these. And it's not clear. And Shinji's wearing headphones. So this is a question for you. Is Shinji's wearing headphones, so it's not clear if Shinji heard that conversation where Toji's like, this motherfucker hurt my sister. Do you think we're supposed to believe that Shinji heard that and was playing it off, or he didn't hear that?
I don't know. I was curious about that too. I walked away with that thinking that he had the headphones in so people thought he wasn't listening, so he could listen to what people were saying. Like, he didn't have anything playing. He just had the headphones in so that people wouldn't talk to him.
That was my takeaway.
Okay.
But right now, sitting here right now, I'm thinking, I think he wasn't listening. That's what I think we're supposed to believe. But I don't know. Who knows? But that was my takeaway too. But I think, like, when he looks up at the screen and then answers yes on the computer, I feel like that shot plays differently if he doesn't know. It makes less sense if he does know. It's like, well, don't say it because people might beat you up. So, but anyway, so that happens. We hear some narration from the teacher saying that there's a thing called the second impact. It was happened in 2000. That was 15 years ago because the current year is 2015. 50% of mankind died off. 50%, dude. A comet hit the North Pole, and they said it was like a terrible time. Like it was like the hardest time, but eventually they got back society, and now they're in school with real buildings and real technology and stuff. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude, 50%. I don't know. Did you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, not specifically this, but this was the kind of the part where I was like, wait a minute. So much of this they still have not explained yet. We're in, how many episodes in now? Why do the pilots have to be 14 years old? If this was so urgent that they had to throw him in with no training, why does he still have time to go to school? Like, I just kept coming like to all this, like, for a moment, like I lost the whole suspension of disbelief specifically right there of like,
Right.
if all of this is going on and he's one of the few people that can save everybody, why is he not training right now? Why is he not practicing? Why is he sat in school? Why have they not explained this? Why have they not explained that? Like, nothing makes sense. And there was a part of me that was like, yeah, this is dumb. And then it took me a few seconds and I'm like, wait a minute. No, I'm just so used to everything I watch spoon feeding me the entire plot line in the first 10 minutes that I'm not used to not understanding what's going on an hour into something,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it kind of made me want to watch more because like they were just drip feeding you little bits and pieces of the lore that included of like, wait, it took this far into it for me to understand this part of it. What else is going on? So I really like the way that they're using that as sort of a narrative. And I kind of felt like maybe they're using him going to school, even though it doesn't really make sense, as a way of doing this kind of not so slap you in the face exposition of like letting him be involved with normal people that are not part of this and letting him have some friends and things like that, even though it doesn't really make sense. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I think, again, that's an interesting thing about anime is like how it differs so much. I think that it can rub people the wrong way. I've heard people really don't like how the mouth flapping is so off because even if you know Japanese, their lip sync is really off their language too because they just don't care about it. So stuff like that, it just bumps people, and I totally get it. And there's stuff that's off-putting to me. Like, I don't want to say that it's necessarily good or bad because I get both sides of it and I don't want to just necessarily defend it, but it is really interesting and it's part of what I like about it. And it's so different, but also just like the trope of like, oh, going to school is like, I think even before Eva was like a normal anime trope that they were kind of using. So they're kind of using the language of filmmaking essentially, like to where it's like for you, it's like I don't buy this, but it's like for them, I think they would have bought that, and then also towards the end of the series, I think they kind of like they kind of call attention to that, they kind of make a joke about that later. But it is important because I think you're right that it is like, wait, what? 50% and we're in school? Because I think what hits me is, wait a second, we haven't been outside of Japan, have we? The camera has not looked anywhere outside of these very small confines, and we know Japan is a island in the middle of the sea. So like, what does the whole fucking world look like? 50% of the planet died. We only have seen Tokyo, one city in the world, so it's like, and I don't know that you ever, it's like you don't really get a sense of what's going on. Like, so yeah, I think it's supposed to be really creepy in this moment, or you're supposed to be like, whoa, it's supposed to be unsettling, for sure. At this point,
I think that made it click for me too. Of like initially, like when I kept seeing like all the United Nations, the UN logo and all these things, I was like, that's really a weird decision to have made. Of like, I guess in Japan is the UN considered a much more powerful thing than we think of it and things like that. And then after that part, especially about the whole how 50% of the people died and how the whole world changed and everything, that to me was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Then maybe that's the new world government. Maybe that's,
Right.
the whole world had to team up for this, and that this is the result of that now, is that the UN is way more powerful for them than it is for us. So maybe that does
Yeah.
make sense. 'Cause early on, I kept thinking, this just makes no sense. Why is the UN so powerful suddenly? And I think
Mhm.
that's where it started to make sense for me, or at least I came up with an excuse for it to make sense.
Yeah, they call that apologetics, but yeah, or headcanon. But no, I think yeah, we're to believe that there's now a new world order, like a world government that's formed in the aftermath of the catastrophe. We don't know what's happening, but there's other countries still, and it seems like there's probably like more islands, like of civilization as opposed to like this broad like expanse. But at this point, like on the computer, they have these like essentially like desk laptops or something that can communicate with each other. And someone messaging Shinji, "Are you the pilot of the Eva?" Because Ida implies that it's rumored that Shinji's the pilot because he's a new kid and he's mysterious. And so the two girls ask him, "Are you the pilot?" And he thinks about it. He looks up and he answers Y as opposed to N. Yes, I'm the pilot. And the whole place goes nuts. And like the teacher is still drawing on. He doesn't like pay attention. But the whole class gets turned up. And then we do a pretty quick shot to Ray, who does not react at all. And like, again, on this watch through, not other watch throughs, but on this watch through, I was like, oh, like Ray, of course, didn't tell anybody anything. Like no one has suspected Ray. She's probably one of the most boring weird kids in school, and so no one's thought of this. And I wonder if she's judging Shinji, if she's like thinking, oh, I wonder if I should have told someone, like I wonder what she's thinking in that moment, especially because in episode 5, like you get the sense that she's been thinking about Shinji. So it's like I wonder what she's thinking here, because she's like a Rorschach test during this whole show.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like at that
Yeah.
point too, that was sort of a sign that maybe Shinji wasn't making the best choices, because
Mhm.
either it was supposed to be a secret or everybody would have already known. There really wasn't an in between. Like
Right.
if it wasn't supposed to be a secret, the school would have been, hey, our new pilot's going to be in your class, and this would have, it wouldn't have been this hush hush, are you or are you not thing. So he probably was not supposed to tell people.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
either no one told him or he just didn't care, or like I don't know
No,
what his motivation was.
I think you're supposed to understand that he thought he could be popular, which is again why I think that he didn't hear Toji, because I think like again, he's isolated, right? He has no friends. He's traumatized. He's going to a normalizing incident, being basked in normal activities, and is now being like, shit, I'm a loser again. I've always been a loser. Here's me being a loser. And someone is offering him a golden platter, a silver platter, like, hey, would you like credibility? And he's like, wait a second. Holy shit. This driving a robot thing might not just be all trauma. And I think he's thinking like, oh, this could be good for me socially, even though I'm probably not like this isn't being a stupid kid, for sure. But I think, part of that is it's because he's like, oh, this could be a good thing. My dad doesn't love me, but hey, maybe school will.
Yeah. And I can also sort of like empathize with being that age too, and just like not being able to keep a secret like that in.
Mm-hmm.
It would be so hard. It would be like, being cast in some big new movie and then being told not to tell anybody at school. Like, how long would you last before you told somebody?
Yeah, exactly. Like Hollywood is full of that. It's like you can't talk about this, and everybody talks about that. It's all exactly. It's like that's the whole point of secrets is to gain power over people. So after class, Toji's pissed. He punches Shinji because you shouldn't like you're being too sloppy. You hurt my sister, and Shinji doesn't want to pilot the robot anymore. And Toji gets pissed again because Toji's like, well, wait, no, you have to pilot. Like someone has to pilot it. Like you got to pilot the robot. And then Ray shows up and tells Shinji to go to Nerve HQ because there's another angel. The buildings go underground. I don't know if this might be the first time we see the buildings actually go underground. I don't know. Did you have anything before this point to say? I feel like it cut you off again.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, the building to underground thing really is a huge, like, oh my God, this is a different world. This isn't just Tokyo with robots added. This is, they've rebuilt the city from scratch kind of thing. you
Yeah.
know. So it it was an interesting thing to see all that happening and like just get a sense of scope and scale for what they were trying to show of how much the world changed.
Yeah, and again, it's Tokyo 3. So was it Tokyo 2 before the second impact, or was that Tokyo 1? And Tokyo 2 fell in the aftermath, in the past 15 years, who knows? But so, all right, let's see. We see this guy. I don't remember this guy's name, but he has glasses. He has short hair and glasses. He's like a lower rank government guy, and he ends up being like a not a major character, but he's like a recurring character. This is the first time I remember seeing him in the show. I like that guy, glasses guy. He's a cool guy. Shinji doesn't want to pilot the robot because I think it's because his dad's not watching, and like I don't know, but he doesn't want to pilot the robot. And but he's there, and Ida wants to sneak out. Meanwhile, Ida wants to sneak out and videotape the fight, and so is convincing Toji to go, and he's really excited about it. Like, so Ida is like he's idealistic. Again, if you want to talk about commentary on the war, Ida is like excited about the novelty of war, all this stuff. The government's doing stuff, and I can film it. It's super interesting what we're doing, what our country is doing, and he wants to go out and see it. And Toji is more like, well, I mean, Toji's not super like character driven right now, but where he's coming from is like, oh no, my sister's been hurt, like this is serious business, but they're kids, dude. They're fucking kids. That's what's crazy. But so Shinji gets launched, I think, right? He's freaking out. He gets energy whipped by the angel. The angel's got these like energy whips, and the energy whip severs his energy cable. So now he's on the clock, which for me, it's a 5-minute clock, but I think it's a 1-minute clock. I think they just call it a 5-minute clock. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I have to reinvestigate that. And so he gets thrown. He gets picked up and thrown by the angel, and he lands almost on Ida and Toji. And man, dude, I watched this episode twice. It happened before when I watched it in the past, but this little bit, it gets me so much. The Eva, it flies through the air and smashes into this gorgeous like Japanese countryside, like this hill that has these like ancient like torii gates and these like long staircases. It's like this classic like Japanese rural ancient like living with the land kind of vibe. Comes up a lot in the anime, and that's where the kids are. And he smashes into it, and he looks out of the mech and he sees the kids, and they have tears in their eyes. They're just like shivering and crying, and it's just there's something that's just so pure about it. I don't know. It's like the art and the performances, but really it's just the art. Something about like, honestly, the sloppiness, the thickness of the line weight in those shots, and like they're kids. They're just kids. And they almost died. They almost died because a giant alien threw a giant robot. And that was why they came there, to see a giant alien throw a giant robot. That was what they signed up for. And they almost died. And they are currently shitting their pants. Their tears are streaming out of their eyes, but they have not started to cry yet. They have not drawn breath to cry. But just that moment, it just looks so pure. Both of their faces. I think Toji has incredible expressions throughout this whole episode. The first expression you see when he shows up is just this complete, it's kind of like half doofy and half like really emotional. And I think it's supposed to read as doofy, but again, it's Gyu's sister, and this is the first frame of his face. It just like has this gravity, this solemnity, this depth to it. I don't know, but there's something about the kids shot, them crying. It just like literally both times I watched it, I started crying. Like it's something about it, and it's like I gotta investigate that, because it's like that's gotta be like I'm seeing something in myself and being like, what's wrong with me? I don't know, but it's like, man, it just like. But yeah, I mean, they're just kids, dude. But the thing is, like, it's not just that they're kids. Shinji's a kid too. He's just a kid too. But he's in the fucking robot, and he's trying to tell people, no, I can't do this. Why am I the one? Like, no one's explained to Shinji, oh, you're the third children. This is what it means. Like, they're just like, look, shut the fuck up, kid. Get in the fucking robot and get your head chopped off by an alien. And he's like, what is going on? I'm just a kid. And then again, like, it all crashes down on us. It's like, Shinji's just a kid. These guys are just a kid. They're all going to die. Shinji has been handling this so much better than I have given him credit for. Like, because, like, yeah, no wonder. Like what I'm realizing now is what Shinji has internalized and not spoken out loud this whole series, right? You know, all this stuff. And it just like it hits you like the difference in the characters. I don't know. It's just so strong. And maybe that's part of it. Is like I feel like I'm Shinji. It's like, yeah, we're all kids, but like look at me though, also on top of that. Isn't that specifically weird too? You know, I don't know. But anyway, I've talked a lot. Do you have anything to say about any of this?
No, I just think that was a really powerful scene that it was almost though like you blink and you miss it kind of like, but so much happens
it's so fast
quickly that that whole fight I played a second time because I'm like, I missed way too much of what just happened here. You know, because you almost get lulled into this kind of slow paced, we're gonna drip feed you information, and then all of a sudden 1,000 things happened all at once.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that a little bit because because just in terms of pacing, that shot that I'm talking about that made me cry, it's so fast. And then like you cut to them getting like scooped up in the robot hand pretty fast. Like you get off of it really fast and now you're off of that emotion. You know, but yeah, so then Ritsuko doesn't want to put the kids in the mech because it's classified. This is a government secret. And also, fuck these kids. They're kids. Who cares? There's going to be casualties. There's been casualties, right? But Masato, she's like, no, what are you talking about? We could save 2 children very easily. Put them in the robot, you know? And so she does. They do. And then this is a part that the first time I watched this through, I kind of missed, even though I knew about the liquid. But they react to the liquid. And then I was like, oh, the liquid doesn't disappear. We just stop seeing it. They're still breathing the liquid. And like the first time I watched through until that moment, I was like, oh, I thought that the like liquid phase shift and became like air or something, you know? But no, it's just we just don't see it anymore. And so yeah, and then so like I think maybe someone signals to retreat. I'm not sure. I think maybe Masato signals for Shinji to retreat. Do you remember if that's what happens?
I think so, yeah.
I think so, because then Shinji goes beast mode. Because again, like Shinji, he reacts to the kids. He's just like, oh, kids. He's not freaking out, or he doesn't look freaking out, but of course he is internally. And at this moment, Shinji snaps. And they also set up more world building. The presence of the kids' brains in the pod is lowering the brain resonance between the brainwave pattern resonance between him and the Eva, which is making him worse or whatever. They imply that it's less effective, but they don't really say what that means. And so she tells him to retreat, but he goes nuts. He just starts screaming. Like that's the first thing that happens is Shinji starts screaming. And he starts surfing down the hill. The kids are like, what is going on? Because Shinji is screaming and they're underwater. They don't know what's going on. And then the adults are like, wait, what's going on? Shinji's doing something. And, you know, Shinji pulls out the knife. He just runs it. He's going, man, wham, wham. And he just goes beast mode on the thing. He kills it. And then he finally just gives out, right? He grabs the robot's energy tentacle, and you can see it burns through the armor, and you can see it's like a human hand, kind of like the hand we saw in the early. I don't want to call that out because again, like these are human kind of hands. So Shinji starts repeating himself during this mode, and that was also like, this is before the beast mode. Actually, he started repeating himself. He's like center and shoot, and that's also the point where I was like, oh, it's not just like he was dissociating. He was also really excited about the idea that he won't die because he can pilot this thing correctly. So like then he was being like, I gotta focus. Like he's also just checked out, being like, I'm so locked in. Like if I don't do this right, I'm going to die later. And we see that now, because now he's like in the shit and he's like, okay, focus, calm yourself, center and shoot. But you know, shit's going on and it's not working, and he's panicking because he has anxiety and stuff, you know. Anyway, and yeah, and that's another part where it starts to hit me about like how serious is all that. So he gets shot, he gets stabbed by the angel in the tentacle, and you see that he screams, but actually you notice the kids don't scream. So it's like, oh, they don't feel the pain, but Shinji does, which is just interesting. He kills the thing right as the timer goes out. Toji feels bad and he wants to reach out to Shinji, so he gets the phone number so he could call Shinji, but he doesn't end up making the call. I had to rewatch that sequence, but he ends up walking away from the phone without making the call. Yeah. So that's the episode. Is there anything that came up for you? I talked about a lot there towards the end.
Yeah, no, that's a great summary. The only thing that I thought I was picking up on and then later maybe changed my mind on was that when he's doing that whole super focused center and shoot thing, I was wondering if maybe the Eva was sort of like controlling him almost as much as he was like it was like, listen, kid, get this together. Like, if this is a two-way street, you don't just control me. I'm gonna make you do this. We're gonna do this together. But then nothing much happened after that to really bear that out. But that's how it felt on the first viewing of it. Was it almost like, because the other kids weren't affected by it, and there was something that like flashed up on a screen or something that was like almost making it seem like the waves were going in both directions or something, that I thought maybe he was being, it was like dragging him along with this. But then later he got yelled at for it, so maybe that's not what happened. But I was wondering maybe if at first there was a little bit of that going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I think that's definitely part of it in the world building, but I don't know if that was happening in the episode. And I don't like that's part of the world building, but I don't think it gets explored a little bit in the series, but I don't think it really gets explored that much. Which I talked about Eureka 7, which is another thing that we would maybe cover if we keep doing anime. But man, Eureka 7 we would have to go through faster. There's like 50 episodes. But whatever. Maybe we could just talk about it more generally. But it's very inspired by Evangelion, in it kind of delves into that more in a way that I think is really interesting and satisfying and like psychological and stuff, where there's essentially kind of like this collective unconsciousness space that the mechas kind of can access and the mecha pilots can access. And so like when shit like that is happening, they kind of go to a dream world sometimes, which is, I think, like, it's implied stuff like that might happen in Eva, but I don't think you really see that much of it happening. You see weird psychological shit, but it's not super tied into the actual Eva itself, I don't think. I don't know. But
I pretty quickly pieced together that was wrong, and I realized it's not interesting listening to have like, here's Kevin's misconceptions about an episode.
No, it's good. But I think it's interesting. I think it is interesting. It felt like
that was like okay, it's taking control of him now because he's just completely failing at this. But I like it better knowing that he's actually the one who pulled it together. I think that makes a more interesting story.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I don't think we have time to talk about the next episode. Maybe we can just do more of that happen stuff. But the only thing I wanted to say was that I think one thing that occurred to me, I should have looked this up, because like children, there's a word for children. Is it ningen? Children in Japanese. The word for children is like, because it's for kodomotachi. Kodomotachi is the word for children. So the thing is, like, I don't know. I should learn about this stuff and not just talk about it. But hey, that's what podcasts are: is talking about stuff that you don't know about and pretending you're an expert. But I think like kodomotachi is like the plurality of Japanese words isn't always super clear. So it gets translated as third children, but I think it also might essentially mean the same thing as third child, or it might mean closer to the same thing as third child than it does in English, just because like it's not that it's like you might say child or children, but like in Japan, like it might be a little bit more normal to say children about a singular, even if you would do it differently, even if it does mean something different, it just doesn't mean the same thing. It's not as absurd, we'll say, it's not as crazy to say third children instead of third child. But in a later episode, they say the fourth children hasn't been revealed, which is like, oh, no, like 3 children, like 1, 2, 3. There's 3 kids that can pilot Evas. There are 3 kids that can pilot Evas, and they're looking for a 4th. And that's the problem. There's only 3 kids that can pilot Evas, and one of them's Ray, and one of them's Shinji, and I don't know where the other kid is. And so anyway. That's next episode.
And that's another place where the subtitles diverge, because it didn't use the word child or anything. It said chosen ones.
Right, exactly. Because that, I think, if you're talking about, we're calling them the third children, and then, we haven't found the 4th children. It's like, no, wait, there's 4 people, and you just found the 3rd one. We found one. Oh, we found a 2nd one. Here's the 3rd one. It's not like, oh, this is the one. It's like, oh, here's one. It's like, but by saying like, oh, you're the fourth children, it makes it sound way different than like, oh, you're the fourth legal candidate we found. Which is maybe
the spoken words made it almost sound like, hey, we're building 4 of these robots, so we need to find 4 kids.
Mhm.
That kind of thing. But where the subtitles made it seem like it's almost this predestined, there's a specific 14-year-old child for this specific robot, and it, the challenge more is finding the specific child than it is anything else. Where the words being spoken just made it sort of seem like, hey, we're just trying to find anybody who can do this.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I fucking love anime. This anime is really good, and it's really been fun talking about it. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what people do or don't want. I care more than I should, but obviously everyone loves Evangelion. But I'm just like, the thing is, we'll talk about other anime, and I don't think we'll be able to talk about them the same way. I think this is just a really rich text for whatever reason, But anyway, I wanted to do some other segments. Do I have them ready or not? Okay. I think one thing I want to do is talk about like another anime just to like suggest you check it out, maybe, I guess. I don't know. Because I feel like there's anime that would be good to talk about, but you wouldn't want to necessarily watch the whole thing episode by episode and do breakdowns or whatever. Anyway, so we're a school anime podcast, so we're talking about school animes. So check out for today's anime spotlight. We're calling it anime spotlight. Anime spotlight. For today's anime spotlight, we're talking about School Days. It's an anime about school. Oh yeah, it's a romantic anime. I think it's based on a visual novel. It's a school romance anime. And let's just say the ending might surprise you. I want to say that School Days was one of the first anime I ever watched ever. Which, if you know what School Days is, means a lot to you. And if you haven't, it's fine. Check out School Days or don't. I mean, it's not that good of an anime. If you're like, oh, I'm looking to check out anime, what should I get into? Don't check out School Days. Wait until like you watch probably 20 or 30. But School Days is an anime. It's a romance. I like a lot of romance anime. I would say I liked this one. Not bad, but that's another thing about animes. I think I feel pissed if I finish a book and it sucked. But if I watch an anime and it sucked, I'm like, hey, that was great. That anime sucks shit. So that's something, right? Oh no, Kevin, we lost Kevin. That's not how this works, right? We can't lose Kevin.
No, okay, I'm back. You froze and then talked real fast for about 10 seconds. Okay, I'm caught up to you now.
Oh boy. No, I just stopped talking and I thought it was funny. I'll tell you this. When we do the anime version of this podcast, I'm a lot more on my toes. Like, I am a lot more behind the 8 ball and I do not know what's going on. That's an energy that I'm not comfortable with, but it could be good, but it very well could be really bad. But I need to look up One Piece manga arc list because I have another I have another segment that I want to do on the anime podcast, and that segment is, what do we call it? What's that book called? A Million Tiny Little Pieces by James Frey, the famous liar.
Oh yeah.
Tiny little. There's this thing about podcasting where you kind of imagine yourself being unable to search things up. But once you realize you can search things up on the podcast, it opens up a whole new world. A Million Little Pieces by James Frey. Yeah. So, okay. We could maybe call it, with this segment, a story told in a million pieces. And this is a segment where I explain episode by episode what happens in all of One Piece. Okay, Kevin, there's this anime and manga called One Piece, and it's really, really long. And during the pandemic or sometime recently, within the past few years, I spent like 1 month binging all of the One Piece manga. I caught up. And no one should do that. It sucks because One Piece fucking rocks. But like, there's so much of it and you can't get through it. It's just impossible. So someone needs to come up with a way to summarize it. And I don't know if this is the way to summarize it, but I'm going to try until I decide I should give up. Because it would be good to have some way to catch up on One Piece little by little. So we're going to start with the Romance Dawn arc, because One Piece is broken up into arcs. And yeah, I should probably actually read this real quick. Kevin, can you fill time? Do you want to, like, you know how sometimes when we have tech problems, you just do the soda thing? Do you want to just do the soda thing while I read this?
Sure, we can do that while Spencer reads. Let's see. I am super excited to try the peach Pepsi. I love peach. I put peach in everything. The idea of peach Pepsi has been sitting in my fridge for a couple weeks now, and I'm surprised I haven't dove into this yet. This is one of 2 limited edition ones that they do just this summer, I think, in the US. They do a peach one and a lime one. So hold this up to the camera here so you guys can see if you're watching the video version. This is limited edition Pepsi Peach. And it smells so much like peach. It smells like a fresh peach. It really does. I give this a quick taste.
I want to taste it too.
Oh, you have them with you there. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really good. This is actually surprisingly good. I like this better than the mango one that they have permanently available now.
You like this more than the mango one?
Yeah, it doesn't taste very Pepsi-like, though. Like, I don't know that I would have guessed this was Pepsi had I not known that. But I don't care. I really like this. It's sweet, but it's not overpoweringly sweet. The peach note isn't overpowering either.
Yeah, I really like it. I don't like it as much as the mango one. I think the mango one was really crazy and unique. The mango one had real juice. This one doesn't have real juice. And I think the peach flavor tastes a little more artificial than the mango flavor did. And I think if you like used real peach flavor, it might be like way too intense or something. But I'm definitely curious to see what that tastes like, because this kind of tastes more like cherry Coke a little bit, where there's more Pepsi character. I think you're right that it's definitely really heavy on the peach, but there is more Pepsi character that comes through than the Pepsi mango is, like mostly mango, I think.
Agreed.
And I kind of would like it to be even more peachy, but I do really like it.
Yeah, like I don't know if I think the real test for me, there's 2 ways you I think appreciate a drink is your first sip and then your last sip of the bottle. And this may be one of those where the first sip is fantastic, but the last sip is just garbage. Like you're fatigued from that flavor. And that's how I felt about the mango one sometimes, was that I loved the mango one right when I opened it up, but I would almost never finish them because by the end of it, I was just, I don't know, maybe tired of that taste.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm curious to see if I finish this bottle or not now.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. The thing is, KFC has a peach flavored Mountain Dew, and it's so much better. It's so peachy, and I think that's like, it kind of just makes me want to try that, which honestly, it's so good. I think that's maybe my favorite flavor of Mountain Dew. I guess not pitch black, but I just wanted to say that when you said that the first and the last sip of a beverage is a good way to judge it, I was like, man, Kevin needs to do like a review bra style, like beverage review, like YouTube series. I think they would go off. Like people would love it. Review bra?
I do. Yeah.
You kind of, it's not the same, but you kind of have a little bit of a similar vibe to him, I think. I don't mean to insult you, but there's
no. I know exactly what
you're much more normal than he is. Don't get me wrong, but
but he leans into that though. I think because when you've seen him, not being himself, his character, he's pretty normal. I think that I don't know how he ended up with that character, but it works.
Exactly. I mean, that's what's so weird about YouTube is it's kind of like a religion where people just invented like, oh, I behave like this now because it makes money. And it's like absurd when you think about it, but it's like, they're right though. They did get money by doing that, So anyway, okay. So I caught up. Here's the thing is that this was so small that I like couldn't believe it. And that's why I needed to read it. But so okay. Well, the story told a million little pieces. Chapter 1. Romance Dawn arc. Okay, so Luffy is a pirate. He has stretchy skin, and he's trying to become the Pirate King. And he wants to find a treasure known as the One Piece that was hidden by the previous Pirate King. And so he's just starting off his journey, and he fights a pirate, and he frees the pirate's cabin boy named Kobe. And Kobe wants to be a Marine, and Marines and pirates are kind of the opposite ends of the legal spectrum. But so we got Kobe, he wants to be a Marine, and Luffy, he wants to be a pirate, and they're both just kids. And so Luffy and Kobe, they go to a town called Shellstown, where they meet the corrupt Axe Hand Morgan, who's a captain of the Marines, and he's a bad guy. And we learn, a Marine captain can be a bad guy. And Captain Morgan has a son named Helmeppo. And they also meet the pirate hunter, Roro Noah Zoro. The pirate hunter, Roro Noah Zoro. And that's the Romance Dawn arc of One Piece. Very little happens. He fights a pirate, he meets a kid, he meets a Marine, and then he meets a pirate hunter. We are going to get through this. We're going to catch you up on all of One Piece, 1 million little pieces at a time. Wait, that's not, you don't do all of the 1 million little pieces at a time. That's not how, whatever.
Yeah, okay, this might be something that we need to bring Abed on for, because the last time I was with Abed, we went to a bookstore, and he was showing me all of One Piece, not all of One Piece actually, but like the 3 bookshelves of just One Piece, And I was like, okay, can you just sum up what's going on? And 15 minutes later, I still have no idea what One Piece is about. But I'm intrigued. I want.
But here's the thing. That's Abed. Okay. I'm not talking shit, but one of my many gifts is my ability to explain things really goodly. So, I might do a better job, but it raises an interesting question. How did what I said make sense? I should go back and clarify some of that, honestly. But do you have any questions at this point about this part of the story?
No, but I don't know enough about the story to I think have meaningful questions like that told me enough that made me go, okay, I'm kind of interested in this world, but that's about it, as far as I can say I'm at with it after that. But what you said made sense.
Well, let's just go a little bit further. So Luffy is a pirate. He's a rubber man. I don't think we know this quite yet, but rubber man he's stretchy like Mr. Fantastic because he ate a devil fruit, and devil fruit gave him the power to stretch his body. But as a result, he also can't swim. So we live in this world of oceans. Everywhere is ocean, just a little bit of islands. It's all ocean. You have to take boats everywhere, and he can't swim, but he's rubbery. And so that's, he's got good sides and bad sides. And he was influenced by a pirate named Shanks, who's just a great pirate. We don't know anything about Shanks, really. But the Age of Pirates started when the Pirate King Gold Roger hid the One Piece, which is a great treasure, and it's a hidden treasure. There's a big hidden treasure, and we got to find it. Big hidden treasure. The world is, ship world. It's all water. There's the devil fruits. You get powers, and you lose your ability to swim if you eat a devil fruit. And he meets a Marine captain, and there's a pirate hunter. Those are, I think, all of the important things to know at this point. But yeah, he beat a pirate. He met Kobe. He met a Marine. He learned about Roro Noah Zoro. And now you're caught up on the first arc of One Piece, Kevin. Do you have any questions before we leave?
No, I don't think so, but I want to know more.
That's why you keep enrolling in anime films. God damn it. Hold on.
That's enough time for the Anime Binge Club. I'm Spencer Chan saying, keep your eyes to the stars and your feet to the anime. Signing off.